Hello, everyone, and welcome to Three Coaches, One Topic. We have a little bit of a change of guest coaches today. And Adele, you're looking very good with regards to taking in for Paul. Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate this. It was very last minute. It was about, 15 minutes ago?
It's about 15, 10 minutes.
So yeah, I really, really appreciate it. And as always, we have Wendy, who is a wonderful contributor and a member of Coaches Supporting Coaches, and is a regular on Three Coaches, One Topic, not only for her personality, but also for her wisdom and expertise. So what I will do before telling you what we're talking about, I will pass you over to Wendy and then Adele for them to tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll talk about the topic today. Okay, over to you, Wendy.
Okay, thank you. All right, my name's Wendy Shaw, and I'm an embrainer. So I work with the head, the heart, and the gut intelligences. I love that modality as a coaching tool. So I love working one-on-one, but I also love teaching it to people who can help other people better connect. So that's what I love to do. And yes, NLP on the top and sprinklings. And yeah, I have all the ingredients, and the recipe is whatever we choose.
And we do. And I sat down with Wendy a couple of weeks ago, and in fact, that is my embraining behind me that I constantly look at to get inspiration for those keywords that came up to me that were very much in line with my values and my morals, and surprise, ethics was the top one that just kept on pushing its way up there. So thank you, Wendy, for that. And over to you, Adele. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. I'm based in South Africa. I come from a retail management background, and I transitioned into coaching. And currently, I'm the program director at Coaching Minds, running our coaching certification and the accredited program, and doing supervision in the course. That's basically what I do. I focus on really educating others and guiding them through the course.
And I love how you say that's basically what I do, because there's so many more layers to that, which we are actually going to get into. And you know, you are part of the glue that keeps the community together. I met Adele in Coaching Minds. I'm doing my EMCC accreditation. And every time I jump online and I see Adele, we just start giggling. Or crying, depending on what we're doing.
That's very true. Or yawning lately, but yeah, it's that connection that we've built and that interaction we've got. It's just, I would say, mutual. It just happened naturally. Nothing was forced, and yeah, glad to have connected with you, Donna.
You too. Huge respect to you and what you're doing and trying to achieve. I really appreciate being part of that community as well. So I'm Donna Burfield, and I am a joy and purpose coach. And I am actually at the moment restructuring everything whilst I look and enjoy and love working with parents. I'm trying to develop programs that are going to be a lot more impactful. So I'm doing a bit of research at the moment of how I can be of better service to parents, especially after 26 years in education and being a single parent to 3 children for 10 years. I also run a coaches supporting coaches community here in Dubai. And again, that is going through maybe an overhaul of opening it up to the internationally. So there is a lot going on. And I've reached out to Wendy a few times with regards to this. So Wendy, I appreciate you listening to my rants and me being incoherent, because I just don't know what to do. Oh dear. So talking about that, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this topic today. It is about running an online community, and I think a lot of people, when they join, they're used to the Facebook groups where you just click join and you sit back and wait things to be served to you and you take your pick. That is the difference between the group and a community. Before we dig a little bit deeper, I would love to get your definition or your interpretation of what a community means to you. And I'm opening up, so just jump right in.
Okay, I think for me, Grant Suslu, who's actually the founder of Embraining, he said community and collaboration. I can't talk this afternoon. Community and collaboration is the way forward. And I just think that is so true, because you can have a community, which is a group of people that have some sort of common interest. But if they don't collaborate and work together, what's the point? So I think what we're talking about is to have a community that's taking action, that's adding value, that's offering support and guidance. And, you know, it's a group of people that you can relate to. You can also lean on sometimes, but bounce off ideas, offer support, receive support, help each other. I'd say it can be a lot, or it can be maybe even just one of those.
Yeah,
depends.
Yeah.
For me, community is that support that you are going to give another person. Is interaction. It's taking actions. So it's a two-way street. It's not you, like Donna, like you said, it's not joining the group and there you are. You actually have to give your input. You are there to support another person. Everyone is different in the group. Yes, you might have one or two things that you relate to, but we're all individuals and we're all unique. And it's also by accepting the uniqueness of other people, but really putting your actions there, putting your support there, and also communicating, for me, is also key. And that's the glue to keep it all together for me. You've got your people that will basically run your community or lead your community, put it that way. And then you've got your people that joins, that wants to interact and wants to grow and wants to learn. But those three components for me is the glue that keeps everything together.
Yeah, you make a really good point, because look, you can just sit there and if you're not prepared to share, collaborate, at the end of the day, you've joined a group or a community for a reason. Now, depending on the title and specifics of that group, if it's a mum's group, well, that's not very specific. You just have to be a mum. But when you have specific, like the Embraining group, coaches supporting coaches, I mean, it's very specific in its title. Coaching minds or wisdom, you know, what have you, then that is a key. And I don't know if it's my age, but it's about acknowledging if the person that runs the group puts a post and you don't even comment, at least if you acknowledge that you've seen it, you've been heard. Is that too much to ask for or to accept? Because how do you know if it's getting to your audience if people don't step up and say, okay, yeah, I've heard it, but it's not relevant to me right now? That's fine, but at least I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And thinking about all the different groups that I'm part of, if it's an online post or something, I will only support it if I'm aligned with it. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather do nothing and leave it if it doesn't fully resonate with me. I would just scroll on, but then I'm always looking for posts where I can add value. I can add a comment. I can, if I like something and it resonates, I do a heart. So now you know my secret, Wendy's secret. But that's my reasoning behind it, because I'm not going to like a post just because I want to support that person. I want to, honor myself as well. If it doesn't totally align with me, then thank you, interesting, I will move on. So, yeah. Sorry, people. You don't you.
Donna, I think Wendy actually touched on a very important point there. How many groups are you part of? Because at the end of the day, if you I'm just going to take a ballpark figure, 10 groups, and you have to be active in all those groups the whole day, where's your time going? Where's your focus going to be? So I think it is to go and react to what is relevant for you, and where you see value, or you can maybe share another perspective on something, then I normally go and I comment and I give them my perspective. But I will like the post, I will heart it. If I really resonate, I do the little heart. If I like it, I will just like it. But I won't go and dislike or put an angry face, because I know that actually gives bad algorithms out. But it is looking where, and maybe cleaning up your groups that you are in. Go where you find the value. Go where people are actually putting good content out there for you to grow. And vice versa, what are you putting out there? And what are you expecting on your post that you're putting out there? Even if you're just a member and not leading the group, if you're a member of the group, what value are you bringing to the group? And are you open to people sharing perspectives? So for me, that's a key point, is looking at the amount of groups and the time we have, so that we don't spend all our time just going and liking any post and commenting, but where there's value. Like you say, you want to know that you've reached someone, just put a comment or share your perspective, that you know that either you learn something, that you resonate with it, or maybe you can bring that person a different perspective. So for me, it's that two-way street that needs to be open all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has to be open, because, when you do run a community, Wendy, you do, and I do. And if you're saying, okay, I need to know, what do you want? What are you getting value? How can I improve? What am I doing well? And nobody says anything. But then you go out to a networking event and you hear that people are saying things, that does get you pissed off somewhat, as to, okay, well, I'm giving you opportunities, and so why aren't you getting value? It came to my attention, a few people had mentioned this, and I found out who they were. And it was like, well, they've had zero interaction into the group. Zero. So they're not going to get any value, because they're not stepping up, contributing, and this is the whole point. Again, it's like, well, where's your ownership? So what do you look for when you two join a community? What do you look for?
I think for me, first of all, what's the purpose? What's the intention behind creating that group or community? And I always look at, well, can I add value to it? What can I give to that group, or what am I going to gain from that group? And if I feel that it can be reciprocated both ways,
reciprocated,
then so I have like my own criteria and checklist. I don't want to join just for the sake of joining. So and what can I give and bring to that group? That's a key one for me. And who are the people in the group? Are they my kind of people? Because if they're going to post or comment negatively or whatever, I'm sorry, I'm out of there. I'm really not interested. I'd much rather scroll on by.
Yeah.
So it's really what's the purpose behind it?
Yeah.
I agree with Wendy there. It's the purpose and what service can I offer? What can I help people? I normally go and I'll join the group and I'll look what the comments are like. Sometimes you get a lot of negativity in a group, then I leave the group. But it is what value I can bring. What is the group about? It's not about just joining every group to have so many groups that you are in, because it's going to digress your time. But for me, the value that I can get from the group, are they aligned with my values? And what is it going to offer me? What is there opportunities that I can maybe get from the group, or is it an opportunity that can come my way? It's double-barreled.
Yeah.
And seriously, you need to look into the values of the group, the standards of the group. Is it just a spam group where people just advertise the whole time? Because then that is not a group for me. So I think it's a lot personal based, but it's looking at the value that you can get and give to the group.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say I get turned off if I've joined a group. I joined a couple of Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi's groups, and then they start a new group and they transfer you over. And it was just like, well, no, I don't want to be in that group. I didn't ask that. I joined these groups. Again, I felt that calling that I've signed up for a reason. I think it was UPW. And I'm going to contribute. They've asked us to do these exercises. I'm going to, do all that. And then I started to get a lot of spam stuff. And it was just like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So I left, totally against everything that I stand for. And yeah, so yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I think at the end of the day, when you join a community, if you have that mindset that this is a relationship. So if you go with that mindset that this is a relationship of how I can support, if that person's trying to support me, how can I support them? What do I need to do? How can I make this group better? What can I get out of it? What suggestions can I make? Who can I support? Who, maybe a couple of steps behind me? And who's that couple of steps in front of me that I can learn from? For me personally, I love to join groups where I'm going to learn. So that's a big one.
But Donna, you touched on an important point there, is why. I think you really need to know why you're joining that group. If you don't know why, you're going to join all the wrong groups. So the questions that you've just mentioned all entails to why. So for me, it's important to really to get that message out there. Before you join a group, go ask yourself the question, why do I want to join the group or the community?
What are your thoughts on that, Wendy? Good point there, Adele.
I agree. Yeah. Why? The other thing for me is to, stop and consider, what am I giving? What am I getting? Am I contributing? Am I enjoying being part of this group? Am I learning something? Or if I'm not learning something, there are so many groups that become inactive quite quickly, or it's just one or two people posting. And it's like, well, what's the purpose? But then it's interesting behaviors, because I find with my Brain Me community, it's not an online group, but it's a WhatsApp group. So I often post in there what's coming up, any questions that come up. So it's more of a discussion point and sharing sort of events and things happenings and ideas and books and more learnings and discoveries. And if I'm posting something, so I did the polyvagal workshop recently, and I posted, and it was like tumbleweeds. It was like, hello. So I realized then that, if I connect with people individually, they really want to have a chat with me. It's like, well, why don't you chat in the group? Or if somebody that's a great question for the group. But I think some people they'd rather have the one-on-one than to put something in a group, and then maybe they feel it's a silly question or it's not going to resonate with people. And so finding out, what stops people contributing. And I'm realizing it's in that group, it's because they don't know everybody. I do, because I'm the common denominator. I've trained them all. But they've all had the same knowledge and understanding and experience of me. And it's like, well, how can I bring that element into the group? So, yeah, apparently they want more videos of Wendy talking.
There you go.
Yeah, it's lovely feedback, but it's like, okay, so I need to start doing things differently that's going to appeal to more people. But when I message them individually, it comes back to the great interactions and conversations. So yeah,
yeah. You see, this is what happened to me not so long ago. Wendy, you know the whole story of this, and I said to the group, we had nearly 200 in the group, and I was sending out posts, events, and it was going to like 120 people. So what the hell's happening to all those? So I said, by the beginning of January, I'm doing a Facebook cleanse and removed nearly 40 people from Coaches Supporting Coaches group because they hadn't even answered their private messages. And, and I think this is, again, where you have to take ownership of your own part in this relationship. If you're not even answering messages, you are giving me a message. And, when you run a community like that, like you do, Wendy, and you do, Adele, it's not about bums on seats. It's about quality of people who are there for a reason. So if this group went down to 10 people, it wouldn't bother me. This does not define who I am and what I'm offering and the services I provide. What it then does do is saying those 10 people are getting, and we're all contributing, and we're getting quality. So because I think people throw that around a little bit too much. Well, that person's got 500 people in their group, so they must be better and more qualified, or what have you. And it's actually, well, shall we break it down?
Yeah, how many inactives? Yeah, and it's not about the numbers. Well, it's not for me. Yeah, but some people will measure the numbers as being successful when, you can buy those, can't you?
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have had members of the group, some of my coaches have sort of said, hey, I don't feel I'm contributing to this group right now, or I'm not in this space right now, and it's been great or whatever, and they will remove themselves. And it breaks a little bit of my heart thinking, they're leaving me. It's having that respect and also being aware that they're no longer in that group. So if I want to share something that is very relevant, what I feel is very relevant to them, it's just more thinking and follow up from my side. No, absolute respect for them. And I really admire that they say, thank you, no thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it all the time. And I think, Donna, you say that you started the year with a cleanse. I know during the pandemic, I did a lot of online workshops, and it was really about, what's your diet? What are you consuming? Because everything that you see online, you are consuming. So if you're focusing on all the doom and the gloom and everything else, then you see more of it. So yeah, I regularly stop myself and think, okay, right, a newsletter, another subscription. Am I getting value from this? Am I responding? Am I contributing? No, it's time to unsubscribe. And I think unsubscribing to groups as well and communities, it's healthy. We have too much online stuff going on anyway, in my world. Yeah.
Donna, I like the point you brought in, and Wendy as well. It is the quality that matters.
Yeah.
I think with everyone is lately so focused on followers and likes. And that is why there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Content that's going out there just to create a hype. Oh, I've got to follow, and you do silly stuff. You don't actually put any value out there.
Yeah.
So I prefer smaller groups and communities where you can really get that value, because they still put value over quantity. For me, quantity, it's just a number.
Yeah.
What are you going to derive from that? So for me, it is definitely value over quantity.
Yeah, and it's also a lot more powerful and impactful. I mean, Wendy, you've been to some of the sessions where there was quite a few people, and then we had only a couple turn up. Those, when it was just a couple, the things we discussed. Yeah, absolutely. And what's really nice is that we look around, and it's those people are there because they want to be there. They're not just, these aren't the ones that show up time and again, not sitting on the sidelines waiting for freebies, not waiting for those free sessions so they can give their 2 pennies worth when they're not prepared to turn up. So, there is a huge difference. And again, I understand, because we do posts and we like to celebrate when we have our sessions. Yeah. And I like to acknowledge those that do show up. And when I do posts, I've had a few comments of, oh, it's the same old people, and well, no, yeah, how dare you, slap. No, but it's a case of, well, if you want to be a part of it, you've got to come. I can't force you. And if you're sitting there waiting to see who turns up, be that person that steps forward. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And again, what's really interesting is that all three of us deal with coaches. And this is exactly what we're coaching our clients about. And yet the coaches are the ones that are sitting back and waiting to be served. So I don't know. I'm just
fascinating.
Well, yeah. And it's a case of sometimes you just got to take a step back and go, you know what? I'm carrying, you do you and I'll do me. Okay, so can I ask you what goes on behind the scenes? Okay, so again, a lot of times we join these groups, and until we set our own groups up, we don't really appreciate the amount of work some groups, really the owners or the admin really put in to contribute to the wellness of everyone. So yeah, talk me through what you've noticed.
Okay, I think Adele first, because you're much more structured in your community approach.
Donna, for me, it is, I don't think people realize I've been a moderator in a relatively big group before I transitioned into Coaching Minds. And even as a moderator in a group, there's so much, it actually took up so much of my time, because you basically review incoming posts. You communicate and connect with those members individually behind the scenes. When with Coaching Minds, again, when we have events, it's the planning of the events. What are we going to put in there? It's the content creation. It is the whole backdoor communication, meetings, everything to keep this ball rolling. What is going to be of interest to the community? What can we put out there? What can we do for our clients that's in the community? What can we do for our coaches that's in the community? Because we do basically both. We cater for clients and we cater for coaches. With the workshops, it's behind the scenes. What are we going to put on? It's planning. For me, the planning part takes so much time, because it's a meeting. It is putting it together. It is creating the events. It is marketing it out there. It's putting it out there. It's getting to know for people to know that this is happening. If there's articles to be written, it is doing the research, putting the article together. It is not that you just sit, you joined the group and now you're sitting. You basically have to show up every single day, every single minute of the day. You have to show up.
Yeah, no, I could get, yeah, absolutely. And it's not only that, and then you're talking, to whoever it is, and you need to get their photos, you need to get their bios, and they're
Yeah.
taking their time, and you're giving them reminders, and you've sent them links, and they're not acknowledging you. And then even if you're talking to, like, for coaches, supporting coaches, as Wendy knows, I've had guests in to support people with their businesses. So I had Yvonne and Abir from Affiniacs to help with trade and business licenses. But that's quite a few conversations, and then I'm getting their photos and their bios so I can advertise and market them for the group before they come, and then all their other contact details. I've had lawyers, trademark, branding, medical insurance, financial advisors, all these people to help support the coaches with their business. And I don't mind, because I know the importance of this. And as does, what I love you do too, Wendy. And one or two people turned up. And I'm like, and that's when I have to do that coaching. Well, why am I doing it? And I had to give myself a really good talking to. And it was a case of, I'm doing it because I know it's the right thing to do. That, when you're setting up an ethical, legal business, you need to have all these components in place. And I believe strongly that when you do run a community, that you have to provide that information. And if people choose not to take it, that is their decision. But as a provider, I need to give you that option. So, yeah. So whilst I was frustrated, afterwards, it was a case of, well, you know what? I've got my business license. I've got my legal this, that, and the other. I'm all right, Jack. But people don't understand. They just think it's a phone call and that person turns up.
No.
No.
So much more. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes on that people have no idea about. And then when you get comments saying, well, can you change the time? Or this day doesn't work, could you do this day? And could you change this? And it's like, well, yeah, no. You've come up with timings or hours or events that you've already considered what you can do to make it work. So I'm thinking back to the pandemic. I can go give an example of the other extreme of nothing. So during the pandemic, it was 3 years ago, we went into lockdown. And I just thought, well, I've got to do something to help other people, because I knew how I felt. And so I thought, right, I'm British, I'll do afternoon tea. So 3:30 a week. Yeah. And it was called Afternoon Positivity. I've got my cup. So I literally just created a little graphic and said, come and join me for some afternoon positivity. I thought, what are the rules? You're not allowed to talk about COVID. You're not allowed to talk about religion or politics. And I thought, well, okay, I need to manage this. So I'd ask 2 questions. So I just welcome everybody, whoever turned up. And it was like a bit of networking. Everyone got to introduce themselves. I would ask 2 questions. And if there was a big group, you just choose one, squish down the time. And what support did they need? And that spiraled. I mean, the first week, it was like my friends, my family, different people. But then I shared a couple of pictures on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I had people phoning in the middle of the night, wherever they were, and, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Canada, Europe. It's like, oh, wow. But I never knew who was going to come. It was just like an open house. So, and for me, it didn't need to be controlled, because it was the purpose of that was to just help people connect at that time when we're all sort of locked down and shut at home. So, yeah, that was a fascinating one. But I'd still get requests. Oh, could you do an afternoon tea for me, for my team? And I said, well, what time are you thinking? Well, the same time. I said, no, I'm doing this for these people. I'm not going to not do that and do something for you. So, yeah.
Well, you make an important point as well, Wendy, with regards to what the structure is. If this is, the doors open, come in, let's discuss, a free flow, that's fantastic. But when it's not, and it has to have some form of structure, because again, we've all got businesses and lives to run as well. But as you said, that was during COVID. And I also, when you first start out your community, you are a bit more of a people pleaser. You want to know what do you want? What suits you? I'm opening this up to the board. I'm putting this on the table. And if only a couple will answer you, well, that's all you've got to go by. So I came up with my Tuesdays and my Wednesdays. And then I said we were getting quite a few people joining. So I said, I'll do a Zoom call. Is everybody interested? And they said, no, some said they wanted the afternoon. Some said they wanted the evening. And I was going to do it in the morning after school drop off. So I said, okay, I'll accommodate that. That's not a problem. So I put a post out, who's interested, morning, afternoon, evening. People were saying, put in the Zoom link, crickets. So there I am at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, one person showed up. 7:30 at night, I think 3 people showed up. It was just like, grr.
I think it's part of it though, isn't it? You need to get to the stage of, right, I know what I will do, I know what I won't do. I have my boundaries. So and you can't please all of the people all of the time. I had feedback the other day saying, oh, it was too short, we needed more time. And then somebody says, oh, it's too long. You just can't please all of the people all of the time. And that's fine. You're creating your tribe of people that resonate with, connect with you, and see it as important enough to make it a priority. Yeah, that's for sure.
I think what we've done with Coaching Minds, because we are from the start, we were globally based. And we decided, okay, we're going to basically put our time on UK time, and we will work on UK time. And we set the events taking where most people will be available. We took that.
Yeah.
And people came back to us to say, but listen, I can't make it. We went and we looked, is there more people that will maybe do it in a different time zone? And we would create an extra event. We wouldn't really necessarily move it very quickly to a different time. We rather create 2, and then we will monitor it. And if it goes down, we will relook at it. And then we will change the time. But we basically look globally when it will be suitable for most of the people, the community, to join us.
Yeah.
And it's trial and error. It's not something that happens overnight that you get right. It is a constant thing that you have to think about. And it comes back to people behind the scenes. You don't know what's happening and what people are doing, and how much planning and how much thought actually gets put into running these events at different times. And the time that it takes yourself, like you said earlier, we all have our own lives as well. And you basically have to bring everything together, your life plus the life for the community, and still be there of support and be there to uplift others. And it's all about showing up. So that's where it comes in. You expect your community to show up, not knowing what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily about expecting them to show up, but when they articulate and say, oh, I'm a coach, I'm so lonely, I'm not getting any clients, I've got nobody to collaborate, to brainstorm, I'm losing my self-confidence, and this is why I've joined Coaches Supporting Coaches, and crickets. And it's just like, well, these are the things there. So I'm not expecting you, but what I will do is I'll hear you, and I will try and lay on things that will support you. But I cannot go and get a taxi, pick you up, and bring you to the event and entertain you. You know, that is.
Yeah, it's the same with clients, though. They'll say, I have this problem, I'm not happy. But until they are ready to take action, it doesn't matter what you say. It's just they're not ready.
Yeah.
So, and some people just like to have problems.
Yeah.
Who would they be if you weren't complaining about not getting any clients and I'm not doing this and I'm not, that's the space they're creating. So, yeah. Let's move on and make space for the ones that are ready. I think that's
absolutely. And that's when it gets really, really exciting. And I have to say, I absolutely love running coaches, supporting coaches. It has got to me over the last month or so. And my well-being has suffered quite a bit from it. But I'm coming through the other end now. And it's just, what I love about it is that when we get together, and I know, Adele, you feel the same, when you're aligned with somebody and you're talking and you just go off on a tangent and they get you and they're building and you're exploring and it's that brainstorming and you walk away and you kind of like got wings and it's just like far out, I can do this, or you know what, I am going to explore this even further. It is such a high when you have that relationship with a complete stranger. It's awesome.
Yeah, surround yourself with people who lift you up, not drag you down.
Donna, it actually builds your energy. And it's that connection that you have with those community members and the other people. I mean, even when we connect, every time we get on screen, like you said in the beginning, there's laughter, there's jokes there. And people don't, I've known people that don't really see that as creating energy, but it energizes another person. And that is why connection, whether it's in person, whether it's online, is so important. Because it comes to building up and building that energy and uplifting, like Wendy said, it's uplifting.
An interesting question to consider is, how do we deal with people who suck the energy out of the group? Those negative ones that just kind of pull it down. It's like, do I remove them? Do I keep them? What do I do? Do I address it? Do I make light of it? Do I ignore it? Yeah, it's had me a couple of times.
Well, this is why I did the purge. I suppose instead of the detox, it was more of a purge. I was just thinking, you're sucking the life out of me. Goodbye. And sometimes you have to get quite, not brutal, but it's a case of, what am I doing this for? It is about coming back to your why. So if there are people there, as you know, I've had people in the group who were spamming, who were, at the beginning, people would comment looking for advice or suggestions, and the coaches that weren't qualified and what have you were, here's my 12-week course, here's my 10-week course. And I'm going, listen up. If you want to do that sort of thing, go ahead, do it in another group. This is for coaches that are professional, that want to support each other, not ram down your program down their throat. This is a safe space where we need to ask a question, So, I didn't have a problem, Wendy, getting rid of them. I don't.
Yeah, for me, I like to, perception is projection. I apply that to myself a lot. So if I am responding negatively to something that somebody else has said or posted, it's like, what's that saying about me first? So quite often I will leave it. I'll have a conversation or a chat and just test the waters with other people. Is it just me being super sensitive? I'm thinking some things are inappropriate. How is it being perceived by others? So I do sort of a mini investigation, but not really an interrogation, and just think, okay, is it, is it worthy?
I agree, and I do the same, but I do get protective of the coaches in the group who are being ethical, who are being legal, who are showing up, and then I'm getting other coaches in the background muttering, "Oh, you've got favourites," or this, that, and the other, and who, quite frankly, aren't. So,
well, I think that brings it to your purpose, Donna. If you look at the purpose of coaches supporting coaches, it's very clear what your values are. You communicate your values. Sometimes I look at you and think, oh, she's so ethical. You are. That's your number one value, and it drives your behavior, and you respond when it's not being met. And that's fine. That's you, and that's what makes you you. And the fact that you've set up coaches supporting coaches, and that's your number one value, if people think you're going to be laid back and, oh yeah, you can, no license, no problem, it's not going to align with who you are. So let them just slide on by and let your tribe find you.
My tribe. Exactly. This just came through from Jihan, who is also another regular and a great contributor to Coaches Supporting Coaches. She says, so grateful to be part of the community of Coaches Supporting Coaches. Donna, you did so much for all of us in 1 year? Yeah, I know it's only 1 year. And yes, it's really about the energy and connection. Thank you so much, Jihan. It is about that, because we do feed off. Again, like with you, Adele, I mean, we had that meeting in Coaching Minds. It's like, how can we support? It's not only about us who are running the communities, but it's about us as members. How can we support the community?
Yes. And it's something that we do often. We go back to our community and we get that feedback. We have those meetings because that's how we improve. We also will have people behind the scenes that will give us feedback. And coming back to the point, when someone drains the room or the energy out of the community or the group, we would go and contact that person privately and have those communications, because sometimes there is, maybe they're having a bad week, they're having struggles in their lives, and then we go and see how we can assist. But if that negativity continues, we tend to not engage as much with that person, but eventually that person will leave on their own accord, because they're not getting the attention that they are desiring. And it's just something to be aware of. But first of all, there's a process to go through it.
Yeah.
And it's to keep that connection there. But it's really just getting your feedback from your community, reaching out, see what you get. We constantly try and improve and bring in new things from feedback that we received. And it for me, it's as the leader of a community, you need to be open. It could be constructive feedback, whether it's negative, but be open to learn and to implement what feedback you are getting.
Yeah. And see where that's coming from as well. No, absolutely. Before we go, ladies, can you, for people that are listening who are joining a community that is specific rather than generic, how can they get the most out of their community? What's the mindset? What do you think they could do to get real value?
I would say get clear on what the community in purpose and intention is. What are their ground rules? I mean, if somebody has bothered to write some rules of how we're going to, communicate together, then, it's good to know that before you say yes. I'd also say sometimes it's good to just join a group and then see what happens before you jump in and, give your opinions on absolutely everything. So get a feel for the group, a feel for the people, a feel for exploring how you can contribute positively. I think the people that stand out for me are the ones that say, "Oh, Wendy, is there anything I can do to support you? Is there any little admin role that I can do?" It's like, "Oh, yes, please." Because the admin role is the biggest part. Yeah. But even if it's scheduling something or creating a couple of posts or doing something, then delegate it. I'd say, yeah. So the people who show that little bit of willing, get them on board.
Donna, for me, if you join a community, first of all, you need to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're not going to show up for yourself, you're not going to show up for anyone else. With Coaching Minds, we've got a welcome course. It's a Spark course. It teaches you how the platform works, shows you where to go. Actually go and do it, because that's where you're going to learn from. That is where your first understanding is going to come in. And I like what Wendy said is maybe sit back, get to know people, but start interacting. And it all boils back to showing up for yourself, because if you're not going to show up for yourself, you're not going to show up for any other one. And that is the purpose of having a community, is to have that interaction, that connection, and that support, which is the glue, like I said in the beginning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And my bit of advice is that when you do join a group, and usually there's a welcome post for new members, and it will be mentioned. One of the things that I do, and I know that you two would do this sort of thing as well, is I will do that welcome post, but I will message them privately and give them some, information and welcome them on board personally. If that does not go, if that message goes unseen for a while, then you're kind of telling me the kind of member of the group you're going to be. It is about when people welcome you, introduce yourself, or if you don't want to, reach out to the admin to get the lay of the land. That's where we are, there to support you. And I
think something else
for you.
Yeah, I think something else is to be curious as to what questions have been asked previously, what information is already there that exists that could give you insights or even answer many of your questions, rather than joining a group and you're asking some of the most basic questions and half the group are going.
Or reaching out to admin at 11 o'clock at night going, what's this, what's that? And it's on the pinned posts. I mean, it is about being proactive and using your initiative as well, rather than this isn't a shop. This isn't a shop where you walk in and you've got a shop assistant walking you around. So get curious, use your initiative, have a look around. If you don't know, then ask, rather than asking first.
Yeah, I'm really nosy. I want to check out, who are all the members here? Who do I know? And then I can reach out to them and say, oh, hello. How long have you been a member? What are the 3 best things about being part of this group? So I'm engaging with them and building a one-on-one relationship sort of from the beginning. So that's another tip.
Donna, if I can just add something there, is in order to get results, you have to take action. So no matter what action you need to take in order to get the benefit, you must just remember your action will get you your results.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And at the end of the day, I think just before we wrap up, is to remember that this is a relationship. Again, no matter how you cut it, when you join a community, is how can you contribute? How can you support? And, the moderators, the ones that run it, will bend over backwards to accommodate where possible to support you. It's a give and take. It's definitely a unique dance, shall we say. Feel like I've been doing a lot of the hand jive at the moment, but there you go.
Next week it's a tango.
Oh dear. Okay, ladies, is there anything, parting words that you would like to share before we go?
You always get me on this one. I'll think of 20 things as soon as we end the call.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'd say, how do you want to be perceived in the group? You need to show up that way. So if it's a professional group, you want to make sure you're being professional. If it's a friendly group, you want to make sure you're being friendly. So how can you be your best credible self in that group and environment? That's it.
No arseholes, please. It's not that kind of group.
Or at least cover them up.
Sorry, Adele.
That's fine. There's so many things that I can say, and like when he said afterwards, it will all come to me. But for me, it is be yourself, be your unique self, but give. Be there to be a difference, and go and be the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Well, thank you so much. And everyone, I hope you enjoyed today. And Jihan, thank you very much for your comment and for being a member of Coaches Supporting Coaches. I love you dearly as a coach, as a human being. And I will bid you all a very good night. And thank you, Wendy and Adele, again. Good night.